Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rising to the Top Volume 4 Africa webinar. Uh, we are waiting for a couple of minutes to get started as we introduce. As it was announced, here are a couple of housekeeping items. Participants will be muted throughout the webinar so that you can hear the speakers well. On your screen, please find the chat box. Please introduce yourself and tell us who you are and where are you from so that we are all connected together. And write your question there. There will be some time at the end to ask questions. So with that, I think it is our time to get started. We have a panel of esteemed colleagues from Africa and in fact from Japan, and I'm right now in UK, and of course our panelists, we have people from US also. So we will have a great session, but let me introduce myself. I'm Soma Chakrabarti. I'm the first Vice President of IFEES, the President of IACEE, and I work for ANSYS, the global leader in engineering simulation. It is truly my honor to moderate this webinar session on Rising to the Top, Volume 4, celebrating the leadership of African women in engineering disciplines to celebrate this Women in Engineering Day. Here's a little background of the Rising to the Top book volumes. In 2018-2019 timeframe, I have forgotten exactly when, but Professor Hans Hoyer, the Secretary General of IFEES and Executive Director of GEDC, sent me a very authentically written article. And it was written by someone whom I didn't know at that time. She was Tagwa Musa from Sudan. Little did I know at that time that this article would plant the seed for the first volume of Rising to the Top book. We all loved the article, and with Hans's efforts, it was possible to gather a group of people as the advisors of this book, and the first volume was published, I think it was in Chile in 2019. And this book, in which women engineering leaders from all over the world spoke about their personal journeys to professional success and the hurdles they had overcome to get there, was very well received. That prompted us to look for a second volume. And now we are publishing 2 more volumes. One of those portrays the journeys of women engineering leaders from Africa. Dr. Musa had the concept of the 4th volume. She took it from the concept to reality. So we are going to introduce that volume today. Some of the authors will speak, and we also have 2 sponsors representatives speaking. In celebration of the Women in Engineering Day today, we will bring you 5 of these extraordinary women engineering leaders from Africa who will talk about their journeys. This book volume, however, would not have been possible without active support and active sponsorship of several organizations, which are in alphabetical order: ARCELIC, ABET, the Accreditation Board of Engineering and Technology, Consulting Technology Information, Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education, Huawei, and we have a representative from there, Quanser, United Nations Institute for Training and Research, and we have Mihoku from there, University of Emerging Technologies, and the University of Southern California, Viterbi School of Engineering. All of these sponsors have contributed in the publication of the volume. Thank you so very much. Today, we are privileged to have representatives, as I said, from 2 of the sponsors, Unitar and Huawei. After we hear from them, I will be introducing all the 5 speakers of the book, and then I will have some questions for them for each one. But then at the very end, you will have an opportunity to ask the questions. Let me first introduce Ms. Mihoku Kumamoto, who is the Director of Division of Prosperity at the United Nations Institute for Training and Research, or UNITAR, as we call it. She has over 20 years of professional experience in the development cooperation field and has been with the United Nations for nearly 20 years. She has worked in the United Nations Development Program in Jakarta, Samoa, the Cook Islands, Niue, Tokelau, and she has directed the UNITAR Hiroshima office, and now she directs the UNITAR Division of Prosperity. Mihoku, since we got you today, tell us about how UNITAR is involved in promoting women in engineering, and especially the leaders, the women engineering leaders. Can you tell us about it?
Thank you so much, Soma, for the very comprehensive introduction. And it is a great honor and pleasure to be able to join this session with all the leaders from African countries. Thank you so much. Once again, my name is Mihoku Kumamoto. I am from UNITA, and very, very excited to be here. Let me explain briefly about what UNITA does, and then I would like to move on and briefly explain to you what UNITA has been doing to support female leaders in Africa and also many parts of the world. So UNITA is a training arm of the United Nations. We provide various training using innovative adult learning methodologies and supporting government, but not only government, but NGOs, private companies, so that they can make better decisions and also create action plans to make a difference on the ground. And every year we organize about 500 different learning events, and we train about 130,000 participants every year. And the number increased significantly, particularly for recent years because of the COVID pandemic. Our learning activities shifted to online. Therefore, we were able to reach out to much more people than before. And we train many different topics. Some are STEM areas, including engineering. Some are more political or project management or more soft skills. Now, let me explain very briefly to introduce some of the concrete examples of our activities. And of course, I would like to start with UNITA's ongoing collaboration with the Global Engineering Deans Council, GEDC, and the International Federation of Engineering Education Societies, IFEES. And it has been a very, very exciting journey for us and a great learning experience. One thing we did in March 2021 was to organize an international online conference titled Women in STEM in the Time of the Pandemic, Fighting Challenges and Finding Resilience. We picked this topic particularly, this is, as everyone knows, the pandemic has affected us, everyone around the globe, no borders. And people have experienced so many challenges, but at the same time, opportunities. And we were very, very interested in learning from female leaders how they coped with these challenges and what opportunities they were able to capture. In this one-day online session, and the moderator here, Soma, very efficiently and effectively moderated this one-day conference. We were also able to hear experiences from African female leaders from the STEM field. So that was very, very inspiring and encouraging for all of us, and also participants. And also, UNITA has decided to support the publication Rising to the Top in Africa. The reason is because we strongly believe that showcasing female role models is critical to help generate more future female leaders, including myself. Now I am one of female leaders. I am still so many things to learn, but up until I reached this level, I had so many female role models, learned from them, and they have been my mentor and coach. So we are really hoping that this publication will support many more future African leaders to come. Now, we also provide various training activities on various fields. One example is digital technologies. And as you know, digital technologies are changing how we live, how we communicate, how we work, how we interact, literally transforming our societies. But one of the challenges is, while many people have been able to tap into digital technologies, many people who don't have access to digital technologies or who are not digitally literate have been left behind. Therefore, what we are doing is to organize training activities so that people who have been marginalized, who have not been able to take advantage of digital technologies, will be able to learn digital skill sets and also knowledge so that they will be able to gain better employment opportunities or even have startup business. So for example, we have been training people in the Sahel region in Africa, and also some people in Iraq and Afghanistan, so various countries around the world in this area. We also have been training female leaders on disaster risk reduction. Now, this area, there are many people from engineering background, so that disaster risk reduction efforts in various countries are much more gender sensitive. We have been implementing many activities, and this gender equality and the empowerment of women has been a priority area for UNITA and will continue to be so in the future. So once again, it has been a great pleasure for UNITA to be able to sponsor the publication, and we look forward to continued collaboration in the future. Thank you so much. Back to you, Soma.
I think I was muted. Thank you for speaking on behalf of UNITAR, and most importantly, talking about where more efforts are needed. That you use the word gender sensitive, and I really will remember that. And throughout our conversation today, I hope that we can discuss this more. And thank you for the sponsorship. So, Mihoku, from you, I'm now going to Maureen from Huawei. And let me introduce you, Maureen. And I'm so very pleased to introduce you. Maureen, and I'm going to speak your last name, but pardon me if I don't speak it well.
It's okay.
We are we are really lucky to have Maureen Wanjiku Mwaniki from Huawei today. Maureen's passion for engineering brought her to Huawei in Kenya, and from a wireless engineer as she joined Huawei, today she's the vice director there. Her focus as a vice director is to drive digital transformation with enhanced digital tools and improve on their deliverables in all the delivery and service projects to further enhance their customer network coverage. She is also the director for the Women in Technology Huawei initiative that empowers young girls to participate in STEM-related courses and introducing young engineers to relevant current digital skills. and at the same time, create training programs that support women-owned businesses to improve on the digital capabilities in the market. Well, Maureen, tell us how Huawei supports women engineers worldwide, and what can we learn from your endeavors? Over to you, Maureen.
Thank you so much, Soma and the rest of the ladies. I'm really honored to be present on this day, especially being a woman in the engineering field. It feels good being celebrated because sometimes we tend to be overlooked, and it's assumed that engineers are, you're not really celebrated. So yes, this is it's an honor, and I'm glad to be here to speak to even other ladies and also other younger ladies who are within this space. And the purpose was I'm an electrical and electronic engineer, and my passion for science and mathematics led me to be in this space, because sometimes you find, not even because it's either male or female dominated, but it was just a fun space to be around. And one of the things is that I'm honored to see very many areas right now. From way back, engineering was not really something that was taken up by very many young ladies. The fact that it was always termed to be a very difficult, or it was termed to be a very it just didn't have very many mentors around it. And to date, there's still not as many mentors as it should have. And unfortunately, it's really not driving the younger generation to want to take it up. But one thing is that that led me to be able to join one of the global leading telecommunication companies as Huawei. And I'm honored that we were able to sponsor this kind of the Rising to the Top publication, because it's something that we want to look forward. How can women be empowered around this space? And through Huawei, they were able to nurture, they were able to see much talent. They were able to see much drive when they see women engineers coming into this space. And the fact that I was able to be entrusted with the duties. This was not just because of the fact that maybe say, again, one, I'm a woman. It was because of the fact that I was always, say, consistent. There are things I keep talking about. You have to keep learning. You have to be consistent with your content. And by the time, every time you bring, as a woman engineer, you have to bring facts on the table. So by being that, they're able to see and to be able to give that opportunity to people who are able to be to create value, let me call it that way. And Huawei has been able to support now, even with the women in technology initiatives that are now coming up, is so that we can be able to nurture more and more younger engineers who are coming into this space and brought into leadership, because we believe that even as we are within this space, you cannot only be able not to nurture both sides. You're able to see, are there some of these opportunities that are down there that we think we can be able to pull up? And sometimes you'll find maybe the young ladies might not be very visible, especially in STEM, because, being in a male-dominated space, it sometimes may not be visible. But sometimes you find if you're able to give them that space in terms of mentorship, in terms of training, in terms of giving them even a role model, and telling them that not only yourself being driven up into this space that the company has given, but you have to also continuously be prepared. You have to keep learning, because one thing is that I keep saying that by the time you rise to the top, it's no longer about whether you're seated in the boardroom and you're male or female and your voice will be heard more than someone else. It's about what are you bringing on the table. So that is a thing that people need to appreciate, the young ladies. So by the time we do those kinds of mentorship through our Women in Technology Huawei initiatives, we are able to tell them that this is what you must be able to put in place. You must be able to be prepared every time you're going for something to present yourself in front of people. You must make yourself let me call it relevant, because at the end of the day, it's not about what exactly you can do or you cannot do. By the time you're getting there and you are able to become an engineer, you're able to do the impossible. You're able to create value. You're able to bring forth some of these things. And in women in technology space, you find that we even go deeper into marginalized areas. Huawei is able to even go and support such initiatives as going through, we have an initiative called Digitruck, where we are able to go into marginalized areas. And I like Mihoku, what she talked about, because going into the marginalized areas, you cannot grow as a global company and be where you are, and you're not reaching out some of these skills into the marginalized young girls who would like to also get into leadership or get into this space, and so that they can even grow up and become great leaders, probably like you and I. So that is what we try to do. And that is how we try to encourage the young girls through some of those initiatives. And even the women-owned businesses, you find that we also support women-owned businesses, where you find it's a CEO or it's a managing director, or it's, you know, even some of them who are becoming managers within the institution. What kind of basic social skills training do they need to understand? So some of those things we also provide, because we partner with other companies who are also specialized in some of those areas, and we ensure that they get such kind of trainings. So that is how Huawei has tried to build around how we can try to support this ecosystem, so that even when we are all engineers, even as being women engineers, moving towards the top as women leaders, we also need not only to just be at the top by ourselves, but we need to try and pull up more ladies to come into this space, so that even when you're sitting on a table, you have someone else who has the same opinion or something similar to you as a lady. You know, sometimes you could share some of those opinions in the meeting room, but if it's only one woman and multiple men in the meeting room, sometimes you find that you'd like that space to try and share, which probably might not really come out as you may want it to come out. So it's good that we try, as women leaders, we also try to bring them out, and also bring out such things as mentorship programs, and Rising to the Top, I think, will do a really good job by publishing some of these cases that people can be able to adapt. And one last thing is that I always I love reading this quote out myself, so that I can also I also try to share it with the young ladies, is that allow me to read it, is that nothing is impossible so long as you put your mind to it. Keep learning, always be prepared, and be consistent with whatever it is that you do. Whether male or female, you must make yourself stand out from the ordinary and become extraordinary. So that is one thing that I'll be able to share. Let us be able to make Rising to the Top an extraordinary platform where women can be able to outshine themselves, and also make a case out for other younger ladies who will be inspired and want to be in this space of engineering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maureen. That's such an inspiring speech. In my company, we have Women in Technology, also a group, the Employee Resource Group, that works very well on mentoring young, especially young women who have just joined the company. And I find it very rewarding to mentor someone. I will move to the speakers, but I have only one question, and very shortly, if you can answer, was it harder for you as a woman in a male-dominated field to rise to the top?
Definitely it was. It was a challenge, but I like changing that word of challenge to opportunities, because you find your at the beginning your voice is really not heard. Probably, I'm not very sure whether it was through preparation or because you're a lady, or probably that. But with time, I think because of standing my ground, you're able to stand your ground and become firm. And that's why I talked about three major things. Your content must be real, and you must be prepared, and you must be consistent. If you're always that, people believe in you and they trust in whatever it is that you do, and they believe that you can be able to create value for the company. So most of, actually all my mentors happened to be male. for me to reach where I am right now. And that is why for me, I've tried to even bring up more ladies into this space so that they can also find themselves not facing also the challenges I went through and not having to reinvent the wheel, but can try not walk the same path I may have walked, but at least give them a stepping stone in terms of that. Yeah, so of course you have to let them also face a bit of the challenge / opportunity, but again, you try to also showcase to them that this was not really probably the right way you can be able to do this, and probably keep learning and always keep ensuring that you make yourself relevant by the time you're making your voice heard. That was the situation.
Thank you. Thank you again, Maureen. We really appreciate Hui's sponsorship. And more than that, today you are here and you shared your thoughts with us. That's so impressive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We now know how UNITAR and Hui are supporting women engineers to thrive. Now, this is the time. Let's now hear from the authors how their personal journeys to their professional successes. My first guest is our first author speaker today is Vangelia Yotana Ribeiro Felipe Pereira from Angola. She, of course, she's an Angolian. She has been an employee of the Ministry of Telecommunication and Information Technologies in her country since March 2011. And she is working as a consultant to the Secretary of State for Telecommunications from March 2011 to 2014 on subjects related to digital TV and the Angolan National Space Program. How wonderful. We are so happy to have you, Vangelia. How would you say, here is my question, how would you say the engineering sector differs for African women versus women in other continents in terms of society's perception and educational and employment opportunities? Can you answer that, please?
Good afternoon to all the speakers here. I am very honored to be part of this wonderful panel of such amazing and inspirational women. Thank you so much for this opportunity also to be part of this amazing panel. I would like to start off by saying that there is a major gap yet still going on between the way women actually get into the engineering field, how they actually get into the engineering, take up their career into that engineering path. And one of the things that actually come up mostly as a limiting progress for them is the fact that there is a big major cultural gap. I can actually start by saying that, for example, we are actually really running a lot behind in the education field. I can say that, for example, for Angola, we are doing major steps on empowering women into getting into the engineering and STEM field areas, but it's still very challenging due to this cultural gap sometimes that there is, where women don't yet have a lot of access to ICT platforms as men have, and they actually tend to go more into more light works and light kind of things do because of they have to take care of the household, they have to take care of the children, and sometimes also men don't understand that women need to also find their ways into succeeding into the different areas, especially in the engineering field. So these major gaps, I believe, that are still part of the limiting progress for women in the engineering field around Africa, especially as compared to Europe, compared to maybe probably even other continents. It's still that thing that keeps women in Africa from achieving their goals into becoming engineers. This is actually something that I see I still see happening, and I'm from Angola. I see that happening every time, and that is why it's so important to have these kind of platforms where we can share, we can share each other the knowledge that each one brings from their backgrounds, share how we actually can help each other into coming out from these limitations that women in Africa still have as compared to women in Europe. I can see sometimes I still feel that the other thing that comes up as well as limiting factors is that from early age, women are taught that you have to focus on playing with dolls, you have to focus on doing things that are mainly girly stuff, but not to be to have a broader perspective on, even from the early age. You don't give girls like toys and to play with, like video games or things that are more electronic. You give girls like toys, dolls to put plate them with combs and stuff, and you put them in toys that you can cook with. You give them more household related toys, and then they grow up thinking, yeah, these are things that actually men can do and not us women. And so they start actually growing up thinking that this is something that I'm not really, it's not for me, it's for boys to do, it's not for me, it's very male thing, it's very handy stuff, and so I'm rather off stay behind and look after my kids, look after my husband. And this is very cultural, I can say. It's very cultural.
Yeah, it is cultural, and it's what's interesting is that it hasn't changed over the years too much, and it's in many countries. I mean, when I grew up, then that was quite some time ago. I grew up in India, and I wrote about it in the first volume of this book. That when I was a child, and my brother is 1 year younger than me. He would get Meccano, a toy, and Lego, and etc. Whereas I would get dolls and little cups and saucers and all those homemaking things and so on. Though I did better with his toys, I would be told by my mom and my aunt that no, 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 you are supposed to play with this. And thankfully, my father thought it in a different way, and I was allowed, in a sense, to play with the others. So it's just interesting how our childhood brings us up, and from I mean, how we become a different self from what we were taught. I mean, this is amazing, and thanks for sharing what's you see there. And I hope that this platform will give a voice to the girls, not just women, but girls, to grow up and become scientists and engineers. So with that, I think we'll go to the Thank you, Vania. And we'll go to the next questions. And we have our next guest is Debbie, and I know Debbie actually from the book. We are on the advisory board for this book, and also I must say that the moment I told my colleagues about Debbie is participating, and she's in Stellenbosch, and then one of my colleagues here in ANSYS. And we are from Granta Design, the materials company, now ANSYS, said, oh, I know Debbie Blaine. She used to use EduPack to teach. So Debbie is quite famous, and she's from South Africa, and she's a professor, an associate professor in mechanical and mechatronics engineering at the Stellenbosch University, South Africa. She teaches undergraduate engineering classes in strength of materials and material science, and supervises both undergraduate and postgraduate research students. Her disciplinary research area is powder metallurgy, including sintered materials and additive manufacturing, and the mechanical behavior of materials. And I mean, as I say, I feel so good that she's working on materials engineering. But now here is a question for you, Debbie. Many women who work in the engineering and STEM field and end up working in academia, like you, because it offers more flexibility and support than a corporate environment. also in terms of raising a family, as well as an opportunity to ignite the flame of learning in others. Has this been the experience of your experience, or some of your colleagues' experience at Stellenbosch or elsewhere? Can you tell us a little bit about it? Can you please unmute yourself?
Okay, here you go. Okay, so I chose academia. I didn't choose it for the more flexible lifestyle. When I went into academia, I wasn't married and I didn't have a child. But I had been working in industry, and I think that I chose it for maybe the last reason that you mentioned. I had taught a little bit when I was a graduate student, and I really enjoyed interacting with students and explaining and helping them learn. That's I really and I think when I was reflecting on what I wanted from a career, I wanted to be able to make a difference somewhere. And I think it's very easy to make a tangible difference when you are teaching, because you can see your students develop right in front of your eyes. So I think that is something. So maybe, if you're talking about gender bias, I think that the way that women are brought up, we are brought up to nurture and to grow and to care for people. And so I think that aspect does come into academics. But at the same time, if I just think of my department where I work, so I think we're around about 30, 35 academics in mechanical and mechatronic engineering. And currently, we've just hired the fourth woman, oh no, maybe fifth woman academic out of that. And that's in 75 years. So in 75 years of that department existing, when I was an undergraduate student, I studied at the same university, there was one female lecturer. There were no mechanical engineers as role models. There were 5 girls who started my mechanical engineering degree with me when I started studying in my first year. And of those 5 girls, I was the only one who ended up graduating with a degree in mechanical engineering. So if I look around in my environment and this is for mechanical engineering, the numbers are a lot better when you look at process or industrial, even civil engineering, they are better. I think electrical engineering is, well, I'm not so sure, but I know mechanical engineering is meant to be one of the worst in terms of gender equality. But most of the female engineers that I know who graduated and went on to work did go into industry and didn't go into teaching. So there's just so few female engineers, and some of them go into academics, but certainly not in South Africa. I wouldn't say that that's the trend, is that the women in engineering, that they necessarily go into academia. Yeah, so I think that's my experience. I did start looking into the pipeline and where do female engineers go, especially mechanical engineers. And and I think definitely so I postponed my mother part of my life until my late 30s. So I kind of had the traditional trajectory that a male engineer would have had. Go to university, get your postdoctorate, maybe get some industrial experience, and then if you want to become a professor, go into that without being hindered by being a parent. So it's not that the male engineers were not becoming parents, but when a male engineer becomes a parent, the impact that it has on his work life is significantly less than what it has on a female engineer.
Right.
And so I think that possibly the fact that I structured my life in that way meant that I'd already established myself as an engineer when I went to have children. I've got friends who never had children and stayed in engineering. I've got friends who had children and then retired from engineering to be mothers. And I've got friends who are doing the same as me, trying to balance both. But I can't say that I've seen a trend in South Africa
Okay.
in one way or the other. Yeah.
But that's very interesting to know. I have seen it in some places, and some of you might be able to say your countries. Not necessarily it works that for engineers, I would say, but in a lot of cases, what happens is that it's not just engineering, but women tend to focus more on the educational side and go towards that because um, it at least perceived as it will give them more flexibility. But from what I have seen, it's a lot of work there. I mean, going through the tenure process, and then writing papers, and then working with the students, their projects, etc. It's not an 8 to 5 kind of thing or 9 to 6 kind of thing. It's the whole day takes. And with that, when the children come and other household duties are there, one has to tremendously balance these activities. In fact, after being in academia for a long time and now coming to work for an industry, I sometimes feel that this is more structured than an academic setting, because here there is a start and yeah, it is very structured, and I kind of like it, and I wish I had this experience before, which I could have applied later on. But this is not about my experiences. So I'm going to move to our next speaker, and let's go there. After Debbie, when we heard, we now have Cecile Uemana. She's an engineer by profession and holds both bachelor's and master's degrees in civil engineering. She's from Rwanda. She's a fellow member of the Institution Engineers of Rwanda, IER, and from 2017 through GCRF Africa Catalyst Program, she's the incubator supporting young graduate engineers to bridge the gaps between higher learning institutions and engineering industries by providing mentorship and internship programs, which links theory and practice to expand graduate skill sets and increase opportunities from employment. This is very dear to my heart because it develops the engineering workforce, and especially for women engineers, this is something very very necessary part of their life. Thanks so much for joining, Cecil. In your article, you talked about hidden versus open discriminations that we as women engineers have gone through in some way or other. And you have gone through, you write here. Here is a quote from Cecil. Growing in an engineering career involved facing opposition and experiencing discrimination from those who only saw me from the outside as woman. I faced hidden discrimination and open discrimination. Hidden in the sense of having to wait 10 years before I could land a post of responsibility, and open in the sense of working with a Tanzanian male who undermined me, frustrated me, and left me in tears. May I request you to describe how you managed to confront or survive in such situations, Cecil? You are muted.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so grateful to have this chance to share my maybe what could bad part of my engineering life. As you said, I'm Engineer Cecile Wimana. I'm from Rwanda and I'm working in Rwanda. For sure, I was one of the first ladies who have an opportunity to practice engineering on field, especially on field, because some of women engineers work in maybe public sector, but me, when I started my career, I worked in the private sector, working as as site engineer. I have to go to the site especially. So as I was one of the few women engineers on the field, some has looking at me as I cannot do that work, especially the man who has that background, thinking that woman cannot do construction works. However, it was not easy for me to stay in that field, but I had the vision in me saying that what men can do, I can do myself, because it is my determination to say I can do. So as you said, I had the challenge in my working environment. I meet some men who are not respecting me, who are not seeing in me the capability to do that work. But also I had other men who are supportive. So because I had the part of supporting the supportive people, I can move on, saying that people can see me that I have to focus and to ignore the the bad words, or to ignore this kind of discrimination. For me, what I had to do, it is just to focus and to be consistent. As you say, Cecile cannot do, I show you that I can do. I make it. I was on ground, and I have to show you that I can make it. Because when I make things from the scratch to things which can be usable, that is my encouragement to continue, to stop thinking that I cannot do, because things are visible. I can show anyone that I have done this. So that was my encouragement to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Cecile. I cannot agree more with you, because it's funny in a way that some men might think that we cannot do things, but at the same time, many of us really have been successful because some great men became our mentors, and they helped us understand our true potential. And I have had them in my life so many times, and I always appreciate that. At the same time, when there are hidden discriminations, we do feel sad. Open is one thing, but uh, hidden are that when you understand it's going on, uh, and you feel it, yet you can't do anything. That's the hardest part. But what I really appreciate you sharing what you had gone through, not only in your article or interview, but also today. Thank you so much, Cecile. And with that, I think I have Trudy next, and I think Gada the last one, but to ask questions. But then we'll have other questions and some other things which we'll bring to you. It's really, really wonderful journeys every one of you had. Trudy is from Sierra Leone. Trudy Morgan is the first African woman to be awarded a fellowship of the Institution of Civil Engineers and the first female vice president and first female president of the Sierra Leone Institution of Engineers. She has over 30 years experience of project-based assignments, successfully applying her engineering, consulting, and project management skills to a wide range of business problems, enabling implementation of practical and cost-effective solutions. She has worked in the construction, health, and transportation sectors and she is in delivering project management expertise to public and private sector clients as well as to international development organizations. Quick question, Trudy, did you always want to be an engineer?
The answer to that is a quick no.
Oh.
Yes, I was a tomboy. Yes, I like to hang out. Yes, I did all the usual things. I'm a bit of a contradiction because I like makeup. So I'm a bit of a girly girl when it comes to makeup, hence.
You
But
look
at the
beautiful.
same time, thank you. But at the same time, engineering wasn't what I had planned for my life. I started off wanting to do medicine in my head. No, my first thought was I wanted to be an astronaut. I love seeing people go up to the moon and space. It was just like, oh, amazing. As a child, of course, you can dream, be anything. Then I wanted to be a doctor when we moved to Sierra Leone. And my father, in his wisdom, got me to work with my uncle, who was a neurosurgeon. And we did a couple of operations. Suffice it to say, a bout of fainting and a spell of vomiting convinced me that maybe blood wasn't my thing. What I really would have loved to have been, and Vanya knows this, is a performer, an actor, a singer, a dancer, a world far away from engineering. But life is what it is, and we thank God for direction and purpose. My father is a university professor, and in his time, it made sense for his eldest daughter to have a career. He is, I was listening to the ladies from India later. They were talking about, earlier, sorry. And they were talking about the whole issue of scientists. And my father's a scientist and he worked at the university as a professor of zoology. And his take on life was, the economy in our country is getting bad. If you become a scientist, you'll end up teaching and there's no money. So do engineering. And I was like, why engineering? Because you like to draw, you like to, you can go there and draw. And I was like, okay. I didn't realize it was like structured drawings and I have to be, under control and do the right thing. So yes, a quick answer to your question is that was not my preferred field. I would have liked to have been more artistic in nature. But with the expert guidance of my father, I am where I am. I can never say that I am not grateful because I did sing and dance, not dance, I did sing when I was in the UK. I did go far, but of course, it's a very competitive world out there. If you, being a female engineer is competitive and hard. Try being a singer in a world where people have grown up singing from their mother's wombs, and you have to compete against that and earn a living with that. So thank you, Daddy.
So nice of you to say that. Thank you for sharing this. And you know what, Trudy, I was listening to you rather, and I was thinking you are just perfect for the workforce that we are needing in Industry 4 era, because now knowing the science and knowing engineering and knowing technology is not good enough. You have to be able to talk to various people and work in a team, and it has to be interdisciplinary. So I love what you shared openly and honestly, but I have another short question for you, Trudy, because the other question was really short. In your opinion, when we have women engineers, should we refer them as women engineers or female engineers or just engineers?
So I love this question. When I decided to become the president of the Institution of Engineers, after having co-founded Women Engineers, one of the things when I shared with a council member that I was going through this thing, it's like, Sorry, but I don't know if I can vote for you. You're only interested in women engineers. And at the end of the day, what are we all? We're all engineers. One thing I say in every speech I give in Sierra Leone, our country is made up of 7 million plus people. We have over 50% of the population as female. And if we start to discriminate between women engineers and male engineers, we then start to partition, segment, segregate engineering. There's not engineering for women, there's not engineering for men. And I think both Maureen and Vanya expressed that earlier. It's engineering for everyone. Of course, I'm a woman. I'm beautiful. I'm a woman. So I'm a woman. You can't take that away from me. You can't change that. We have women engineering organizations to support women who go through challenges and to push the agenda of women so that the wider community can see that we are here, we exist, we have a voice. Yeah. Because sometimes, even in our own organizations where all of us are, our voice gets lost because by virtue of the numbers. In Sierra Leone, I don't know, less than 10% of the engineers are female. And so if you have a room full of engineers, the majority will tend to be men. And if you're lucky, I've just come from one of the questions you asked, I think it was Deborah, was about the percentage of women in academia. In Sierra Leone, there is not one single female lecturer in engineering who is permanent. You have an associate, they'll come, they'll teach a class, and they go. But in the faculty, there's not a single female role model, not a single permanent lecturer. So yes, women engineers, female engineers, engineers. I think that the term, every term is acceptable to women because we are engineers. We're tagged by our gender, and sometimes it's because we have to be, and other times because we want to be. So we have to be because we have to show that we're here, and we want to be because we want other people to come and see that we are here as women, and we can do the things like Maureen was saying and Vanya was saying. We can reach those heights that people think that we can't reach.
Thank you. A really, really great answer. Resonates with my heart, I must tell you, Trudy. Thank you so much. And thank you for answering 2 questions. And now, Kada, I haven't forgotten you. You're from a country, Egypt, that's in my list of the countries that I want to visit, and I will visit someday. And now that I know you, I will connect with you and visit it. So let me introduce you, and then I have a question for you. Ghada Amir is the Vice Dean of Postgraduate Studies and Research Faculty of Engineering in Benha University in Egypt, and she's the President of Center for Strategic Studies of Science and Technology and Vice President of the ASTF. She holds a few more positions within her profession, like the Director of Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center at Benha University, the Chief Executive Officer and the co-founder of ASTF Innovation Lab, the ex-head of Electrical Engineering Department of Department at the Benha University, and the CEO of the Global Aqua Research Center. I mean, I think I shortened your bio a little bit so that I can accommodate here, but her bio is really, really impressive. I would like to ask you something that, what do you think the most important aspect of creating a series like this, Rising to the Top volumes? I mean, it is, and what have you enjoyed most about the process of being part of it? And how was the interview process? You are muted. Can you unmute yourself? We can't still hear. Maybe some switch has to be turned on.
Dear Ms. Gaida, maybe if you don't mind to disconnect and reconnect.
Yeah. And while she's doing that, let's look at some, are there some questions, Aleki, for us?
Yes, we do have some
Okay.
questions. Let me post them right now.
Okay. And are you posting on the chat?
Yes, give me one moment. Okay, we have a question. What is the role of male engineers and male engineering educators as allies in equalizing the voice, role, and power of women in engineering?
Okay. How about I give it to Vanya? Unmute yourself. Yes, please.
Aliki, could you please repeat the question? I think it was a little bit long. I took a little bit of it.
Um,
Not a problem. What is the role of male engineers and male engineering educators as allies in equalizing the voice, role, and power of women in engineering?
Well, I truly, and this is a very good question, and I truly believe that male have a very, very important role in this, because if you can see from the statistics, I heard some statistics from a McKinsey report that 95% of, for example, engineering leaders are male and only 5% of them are female. So it's very important that we allies with men and to actually that they actually be part of the empowering process for women to become engineers, to have this path towards engineering field, because not only because they are the majority, but also because they tend to influence in all the strategics and all the policies making that goes on regarding how women get empowered, how women get it towards finding their career path, because they are part of this important role, whether when they are parents, whether when they are teachers, whether when they are husbands, whether when they are brothers. They all always influence, they're always part of this influencing mechanism, this influencing role. So it's very important that they are actually they open the atmosphere and become part of the process as well, so that it eases the path for women. Because if, for example, you have a father who doesn't let his daughter to be what she wants to be just because she's a girl and she wants to be an engineer, obviously that will be an influence to her. If you have, for example, a husband who doesn't let his wife be whatever she wants to be in terms of her career path, because she needs to be just focusing on something that would not give her so much challenge, then also that would become something that obviously would keep her from pursuing whatever she wants to pursue in terms of her career. So when we go towards men, and like what Trudy was saying, it's very minute, it's very minor, the number of teachers, the number of female engineers, even in education wise, even at school. I myself didn't have those mentors, women mentors during my high school, during my university. I only was surrounded by male. So if I didn't have that umph from those male engineers who are actually around me, then I would feel even more lost when I don't have already women around me to give me that modeling, to give me that, to show me the way forward. So in order for women to actually have that strength to go and pursue that engineering, that there should be this allying, because even in decision-making positions, we have more male people, engineers, if I can say, even more male leaders. And when it's regarding also male engineers in the top positions, they also make a big influence in how these women are promoted, how these women actually go to the top of their engineering positions, for example. So in every area, it's very important that we not only find, for example, women or female mentors, but we actually join forces with men to, in order for women to go and, you know, take up that that path in the engineering field. So they are very important for that process.
Thank you. Thank you. You shared something that's also, I think, all of us will be resonating with your thoughts. But let me see if Gada, I can ask you a question. Is your microphone working now?
No.
No, it is not working. I'm not sure.
Yes, I believe now you hear me. Still you don't hear me? Hi, anyone.
Pardon me?
Now you hear me? Now it's okay?
Yes.
Now you hear me?
Okay. Of course, we hear you. You're,
Alhamdulillah.
you know, the square
That's
is
good,
lighted, and that's the beauty of this live webinars when we overcome the challenge, in fact. So we'll talk
Yes,
about the challenges a little later, but let me ask you a question, Gada. How was it working in this for this book, and how was the interview process, and what did you feel about working this book? What you liked, what you disliked?
Okay. First of all, I'm very honored to be among these stars of women in engineering. Really, I'm very honored, and I'm very happy to hear your stories. It's really inspiring me. Thank you so much. Thank you for the whole team that doing a great job to give the role model. About the book, as an Egyptian, as an African woman in science and technology, I feel there's something new for us, because unfortunately we have a lot of stars, but no one mentioned them. And for this, we don't have the role model in this part of the world that the young ladies can follow up. And the book give this stories, give the challenges, give the meaning. When I started answering the question to write my story, I feel that I do a lot of things. Thank you very much. You really tell me that the whole challenges that I met in my life, it's something like opportunities, as Maureen mentioned. Yes, it's not now I see it's not a challenges, it's opportunity that make me do a good story in my life. Also, as a mother, I start to talk with my sons. I have 4 kids. Now they are young male and female. I told them about it, and they were very happy to read my story and to see what I'm doing now. So I believe it's a great thing. Nothing I don't like it, because everything was perfect. Everyone was connecting with me, starting asking questions, support what I'm doing, and from the beginning they told me, tell whatever you want, feel free, and tell us about your story. And really, I'm very grateful to be part of this great inshallah book.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One short question that you know, you are connected to so many organizations and leading so many organizations. So as a woman, as a working mother and a woman engineer, what value do you bring in home, and what value do you transfer to your next generation?
You know, the big value that I felt now when I start doing my research as a mother, and I have young boys, small boys, I start telling them about my research. Everything I did, I took them with me everywhere. So they feel that engineering field is something amazing. They like it. They feel that I'm doing not working, I'm going for a club or doing something fancy. So they like the STEM field. So for this, my 2 kids, the eldest one, now one of them finished the communication engineering, and the other one is computer engineering, because what I'm doing in front of them, they feel that it's something amazing. So I reflect this to my daughter, and she now starting to talk about she need to be engineering in something related to electrical engineering also. So I believe that the engineering mother, it's reflect what she's doing with her sons and daughters. And also when I start leading the big entities in innovation and entrepreneurship, I understand the meaning to do that help my community and to support my community. And in my engineering field background, help me to arrange my time, help me to do everything in time and to be precise and insist to succeed. And also engineering background gave me the opportunities to feel that all fails, that the people say fails, I feel it just training. I have to do it again, and this is the engineering. Thank you.
Thank you, Ada. And I'm so glad the voice or the audio came back and we could hear you speaking. So thank you so very much. Aliki, is there any other question? I have a question, and which is connected to the last question, actually. So I don't see anything written here other than the last one. This is a question, and let me tell you the question. And as I was listening to all of you, and I was listening to Vanya on this, the role model male engineers and so on, you know, many of us who have little kids, boys or brothers and others, other male colleagues, yes, the male colleagues and others can become, I mean, they can help or so. But when we see the young boys and those who have gone through, like me, gone through, there is a distinction between boys and girls kind of thing, we want to change that. We want to make sure that the next generation doesn't, our next to next generation, in fact, for me, doesn't think like that. What can we do? I mean, not just writing in the book, but what can we do as women engineers to tell these boys that everyone is same, and it doesn't matter who is a boy or a girl, who is a man or a woman, or any gender, in fact, to be an engineer, to be a technologist, to be a scientist, and so on. Whoever wants to become whatever can become that. What can we as women engineers do? Who would like to take this question? Okay, Gada, and then I'll come to Maureen. Gada.
Okay, for me, I see the problem is the family. As Maureen mentioned, the family, or also Trudy mentioned, the family is very important. When they grow up, girl, female, or girl and boy, they mention to the boy, you will be an astronaut, you will be an engineering, you will be something scientist. But for the female or the girl, they mention you should be beautiful, you should be married a rich man. So the important that we focus in the family, and from the beginning they understand that it's equal, boy and girl. They can play the same games, they do everything. Start from the beginning, put in the mind, both of them, you should be something for your family, for your country. Not this one should marry and this one should be something like scientists. So I believe it's a family, it's education system that should change the mentality of the people. Also the media is very important to support the role model of the woman in science and technology and the engineering field. It's not someone will lose its feminist. It will, as you see, we have a lot of beautiful ladies here working in engineering field. So we don't have a problem with engineering and to be feminist, beautiful feminists also. And I believe it's an anti-aging, the most anti-aging. When you work in the engineering field, you will not become elder anymore because you always have a great mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. Maureen, it's you. What were you saying?
I like what Gada has said. I mean, she's echoed most of the things that I say. I have two boys, and it's funny how they do some clubs also at school where it involves some engineering, basic engineering. And the interesting thing is that they have many fellow other young girls, and he gets so excited because they come and they say that like so and so was able to build this and all that, but never looks at it as whoever has built it is a boy or a girl. And most of the things that, even when I do some of these things related to women in technology, I try to also encompass them. So it has to start from the family, where they see it is very normal to do anything. So you don't need to say that a woman needs to cook, clean, all this, and then the boys are the ones who will do the engineering and all that. It is okay for anyone to do this. I mean, they find me walking around, probably going to site. I've worn my reflective jacket and my helmet, and he's like, oh, okay, how many people are you going to site with? Are you the only lady, or who else is coming with you? So it's you have to take them through some of these things, especially from when they're very small, because from when they're small is when they start having that critical and creative thinking, and they're able to evolve and understand that these are very normal things. Another thing is that also your spouses or your parents or your people around you should be able to encourage around that, like echo it out to others, so that people can be able to see it more and more. Spouses, especially the male counterparts, like your husband, your fathers, when they're able to also showcase that, yes, my daughter did this, and I believe we can have more and more people coming into this space. It also drives that confidence out to others that, I mean, my daughter made it, and you can imagine how proud they become when they say that my daughter did this, or my niece, or my niece actually is an engineer, or so it goes out propelling. I think Gada has also said is about the media. We need to speak more about not making it biased towards that it's male or engineers is for male or female. We need to remove that whole wording of specifying it that it's still inclined towards that, so that it can be encompassed that this is very normal. Just like now these days you see art used to be known that it's something just for the female, but now you're able to see even people coming out to talk about art and to talk about this other thing. So we need to normalize this particular engineering from all sectors, and our male counterparts need to support that kind of space, so that it can be echoed from different angles and not coming in from only women, where it looks like it's just being a feminist movement, Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I now see that Aliki had sent some of the questions in the WhatsApp, and I'm looking at the watch, and we have only 5 minutes left. We started a little late, so we have been given the opportunity to finish a little late. So I think for the time being, I will actually go to someone who will prove that, who has proven actually that a male mentor, a male colleague, a male friend can be very influential. And his name is Professor Hans Hoyer. I met him a long time ago. I can't remember, but I think it was 2010 in Singapore when I first met him. I think that was one of those first few GEDC kind of thing, or WEEF. And I went to another conference. But over the years, what I have seen is that he does find the best in every person and what that person can bring to the table. He has really mentored me and helped me so very much. But most importantly, this book came from, it started with Dr. Tagwa Musa's article, but the seed that was planted, it was planted by none other than Dr. Hans Hoyer. It's often said for every successful man, there is a woman, but for all these women to be successful, this man has done more than his share that he could do. So Hans, may I request you to say a few words? And if Tagwa doesn't mind, I will bring her for a little time. So, Hans, can we see you? Or you can speak if you want.
Can you see me?
No, we can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. Just a minute here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you look great.
Peace be with you, my sisters and friends and colleagues, and thank you for. Again, I'm just deeply inspired by the thoughtfulness of all of your comments, and I'm learning from you and also sharing those comments. By the way, I also have daughters and granddaughters, girls and boys, and finding creativities. I'm very, very fortunate to that, and to share with them. And they have traveled with me in many parts of the world. Each of them was born in a different part of the world. So they've had an experience also, not just from an engineering point of view, but as youngsters that have listened carefully to the diversity of this world in which we're all engaged. And that is my personal journey, and a privilege to be inspired by the Somas of the world, who I've known and learned from her. It works the other way. And here's my, and Debbie, and she and I are working closely. I've had a close relationship with her context, her reality per se, and I'm happy to meet all of you colleagues in Africa. I've lived in Africa. I love Africa. I've even had the chance to learn some of the languages there, although I don't speak them fluently anymore. But I want to continue to deepen my and continue my connection. I have a whole new sister in this journey called Mihoku, who I'm privileged to work with her closely in her leadership in in Japan and globally through the United Nations organizations per se. But I think I'm so happy to see my sister Tagwa, because when I saw and I met her, and I've had the chance to spend time in Sudan, a complex environment society, some years ago when I lived in Africa, and then I had the chance to meet her, and we connected beautifully, and I've asked her to write this article, and it was just inspiring. So I talked with Soma and several other close friends. We have an opportunity to take a global journey together, and this is the global journey that Tagwa and Soma and I have, and many others. Aliki, who's with us, has been taking with us, and I can give many other names, of course, of close colleagues and friends. That I think the fundamental thing, that trust each other, to communicate openly and honestly, to learn from one another with respect in our both personal and professional lives. So my dear friend, sister, leader Tagwa, I'm happy to see you. Please say a few words to our wonderful colleagues and friends here. Thank you so much for letting me say a few words here.
Thank you, Hans. And I really appreciate what all you did to make this the volumes successful. So with that, I want to introduce Dr. Tagwa Musa. I have introduced her as the one who wrote an article and that planted the seed for these volumes. And she's a good friend now, and I have met her personally. Tagwa, what are your thoughts as you see your article has grown into now volumes of books, a book?
Thank you so much, Suma. Really, I'm very happy to see all of you today, my colleagues and friends. Really, we already catch about 31 co-authors from Africa, from 28 countries in this book. All of them really are amazing women. I'm really very proud to see all of you today, and thank you so much, Suma, for directed this this session. I'm really very happy. Every time I see you, I feel very happy and inspired, and in all the engineering directions, really. Thank you so much, Prof. Hans. Without your support, I think we cannot do anything, really. And thank you for the committee of this book. We are 5, I guess we are 5. We work very hard to during the process of selection until we just reach this step. Thank you for Kayang. Kayang is the editor of this book. She worked very hard and she's doing very great, really. And a special thanks to my best friend, Laura London. Without Laura, I think we are not going to see this book. And of course, my thanks to Aliki and Selma. Aliki and Selma also did very well, and they are connecting with all of you, and maybe is well known for all of you now. So I'm really, I don't know how to say, I'm really just glad to see this session today, and this session is just starting. We are going to include all the 31 co-authors in so many webinars in the future. So thank you so much. Well done today. I'm really so proud of all of you. I'm so proud of Africa. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prof. Hans.
Thank you, Tagwa. And this is we conclude this session by thanking all the sponsors, and especially to UNITAR and Huawei, who have been here with us today, and all the 5 speakers. You shared your journeys from your personal journey to professional success from 5 different countries in the African continent. Thank you, Tagwa, and thank you, Hans. Aliki, Selma, we will see you at another time. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, our sponsors. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Well.